In a quiet town shrouded in darkness and mystery, there lived a young woman named Alice. She always felt that there were hidden paranormal forces in her house, but she could not prove it to anyone. Every day the phenomena became more intense and frightening. Shadows moving in the corners of the eyes, vague rustles and inexplicable smells filled Alice's house. She felt that an invisible force was penetrating her thoughts and manipulating her. Lonely and scared, Alice turned to a paranormal researcher, Dr. Richardson, for help. He came to her house to study the phenomena and find an explanation. With the help of his special equipment and psychic abilities, Dr. Richardson tried to penetrate the world of these paranormal phenomena. As Dr. Richardson conducted his research, it became clear that there was indeed a sinister entity in Alice's house. This entity was tied to the past history of the house where the terrible events took place. Every day Dr. Richardson delved deeper into the history of Alice's house. He discovered that strange rituals and satanic rites had taken place here in the past. A great evil had been caused, and his presence was still felt in every corner of the house. Dr. Richardson told Alice about a terrible secret that was connected with the past inhabitants of the house. They were members of a satanic sect that conducted black rites in search of immortality and power. However, their experiments got out of control, and evil infiltrated their world. Dr. Richardson continued his research and discovered that Alice's house was built on the site of an ancient cemetery. According to legend, people who died during satanic rituals were buried in those places, and their souls remained locked in this area. The evil that entered the house used these souls as its source of power. They have become tools in the hands of dark forces seeking to return to the world of the living and spread their evil and destruction. Dr. Richardson realized that in order to stop this evil, he needed to break the connection between the house and the cemetery. One gloomy night, when Alice was almost asleep, suddenly there was a loud and rhythmic knock on the door. This unexpected sound woke her up and made her feel anxious. She got out of bed and walked carefully to the door. Alice's heart was pounding when she opened the door and saw in front of her a tall dark figure covered with a black cloak. The figure stood speechless and motionless, radiating a cold presence. Alice felt that something supernatural was standing in front of her. Unable to cope with her fear, Alice turned to Dr. Richardson, who was still in her house for further research. He, too, heard a knock on the door and hurriedly came to Alice's aid. They were both standing in front of a dark figure who suddenly began to utter strange and unintelligible words. Their voice was hoarse and distorted, making Alice's skin shudder with horror. A dark figure covered in a black cloak began to break into the door with frantic force. The sound of the blows reverberated throughout the house, making Alice and Dr. Richardson shudder with fear. They realized that something sinister and aggressive was standing in front of them, which did not want to give them peace. The door creaked and cracked under the pressure of the mystical force, and Alice and Dr. Richardson helplessly tried to resist. The dark figure continued to pound on the door with increasing fury. The blows became so strong that the windows began to crack and break under the pressure of the mystical force. Glass shattered, filling the rooms with shards and creating chaos. While Alice and Dr. Richardson were trying to resist the destructive forces, a gloomy man burst into the room. He was wearing a black cloak, his face was hidden under a dark hood, and his eyes shone with an ominous light. The gloomy man instantly pounced on Alice, filling the room with menace with his cold. Dr. Richardson, seeing the danger, rushed to Alice's aid. He grappled with the gloomy man in the struggle for survival, but the forces of evil were too strong. They struggled to the limit of their abilities. Their movements filled the room with sounds of struggle and moans of pain. In a tough fight with the gloomy man, Alice received a strong blow to the head. She fell to the floor, her consciousness turned off, and pain permeated every cell of her body. Dr. Richardson, fighting evil, realized that time was working against them. He continued to resist the gloomy man, using all his strength, but the evil turned out to be too powerful. It grew, filling the room with its darkness and overwhelming energy. Dr. Richardson understood that he needed to act quickly to save Alice and stop the evil. Clenching his teeth and gathering his will into a fist, Dr. Richardson concentrated his last forces and directed them at the gloomy man. He released a stream of energy, hoping to neutralize his paranormal abilities. At that moment, the gloomy man felt a shock of energy. His power began to weaken. Dr. Richardson used this chance to free Alice from his deadly grip. He lifted her into his arms and vowed to protect her at all costs. In an exceptionally difficult situation, when Alice and Dr. Richardson's strength was exhausted, they realized that they needed to come up with real ways to get out of this trap. In the depths of their minds, they remembered previously found items that could help them. Alice and Dr. Richardson began to scrupulously examine the room, hoping to find something that could be their salvation. Suddenly, Alice noticed shards of glass on the floor from a broken window. She realized that they could use these shards to cut their bonds. With tenacity and determination, Alice and Dr. Richardson began to carefully use the shards of glass to free their hands from the ropes. They worked together, share plans and ideas with each other, interacting as a whole. Slowly but surely, they cut the ropes, freeing themselves from the bonds. Once they freed their arms, they moved on to freeing their legs and the rest of their body. Their strength was restored with each released area of the body, and their determination only intensified. Finally, Alice and Dr. Richardson stood before their executioners, already free and ready for battle. They used their newfound freedom to attack the secret executioners, applying their own techniques and knowledge that they had gathered over the years of their research. The battle was fierce, but thanks to their determination and coordination, Alice and Dr. Richardson prevailed. They left the executioners prostrate and powerless before their feet. Leaving the dark room, Alice and Dr. Richardson swore to themselves that they would never allow themselves to be caught in such a trap again. They continued their journey through the world of paranormal phenomena, using their real abilities, knowledge and determination to protect the world from evil and dark forces.